Welcome back, and a special welcome to my friend and colleague, Rich Higgins, a United States Army combat veteran who is, among other things, one of those guys who was featured in the Oscar-winning film The Hurt Locker, personally, but the specialty in the Army that it's all about, those bomb disposal guys. He was doing that in the Army, and then he became a civilian, a senior civilian in the Pentagon during the Obama administration. He also became an advisor to the Trump 2016 campaign, and like Fred Feitz, Rich worked for a time at the Trump National Security Council. He's a co-author of Insurrection and Violence, A Citizen's Guide. We're delighted to have him with us to discuss this important new handbook. Rich Higgins, welcome to Securing America.
How are you?
I'm really good. Thanks for coming on, but also for this book, and we'll talk about it a little bit in a moment. But before we do, I'd like to get you to characterize what it is we're confronting. The title suggests you think it's an insurrection. I've called it a revolution. Others have called it just peaceful demonstrations. Give us a fix on what we're actually up against at the moment here in America.
Well, I think we are in the fifth year of a revolutionary cycle. I think that what we're seeing is a continuation of events that really began back during the Obama years and carried out through the coup attempt against the president in 2016, 2017, through the special counsel's office, up through the impeachment, and then rolling out with COVID and the riots in the backdrop. So it's unlike anything we've ever really seen in American history. I've seen stuff like this or studied stuff like this from history, but it's a little bit different to be living it. And so one of the things that my colleagues and I decided to do is to create a little booklet to tell people, here are some of the things to be thinking about. There just seems to be a lot of fear out there in the community right now. And we wanted to do something that would give people a sense of control over their own lives and allow them to maybe think about the questions that you don't really want to think about, but the book provides sort of a guide, if you will, to help people kind of come to conclusions about their own personal safety and how they're observing events.
This is a real public service. Rich, your mic is chafing a little bit on your collar, I think, so we're getting some static in it. Sorry about that. But to the extent that there seems to be some profound confusion about who is responsible for this mayhem, let alone their true character, their Marxist revolutionary character, what would you say to, well, for example, Joe Biden, who insisted, based in part, in fairness, on testimony that the FBI director incredibly had given the Congress shortly before, that there's really no organization to the Antifa operation. And for that matter, characterize for us, if you would, Black Lives Matter as well.
Well, I think you're looking at two sides of the same coin. Both of them have as their core ideology a Marxist, under a Marxist underpinning. Antifa falls more into the sort of communist anarchist operational methodology. And while I think Director Wray is correct in one sense that it is difficult to understand their operational methodology, there is an organizational infrastructure. It is targetable. It is, their finances, the bricks and the pallets of water that are showing up at these riots. They didn't get there by magic. Black Lives Matter is a little bit more kind of, I guess, traditional in their revolutionary structure. They're a black separatist organization that uses Marxist ideology to create societal rifts. And we've seen going back into the 1920s and 30s where the early Soviets looked at targeting the African-American population in the United States to create a societal schism where the United States had a middle class without that permanent underclass that they would try and create a revolution. And historically, they recognized that perhaps creating a black separatist movement would be able to do that. And we see them now manifesting here. I think we've seen over the past couple of months some of the, I guess, if you will, the shine wear off of Black Lives Matter and sort of where the corporations and these sports networks were jumping on board with them initially because, the slogan sounds like it makes sense, right? But when you look under the hood, it's a it's a much nastier organism than just, some social justice slash communist group, flying a nice flag of peace, if you will, right? I mean, you have to look under the hood on this one.
Yeah, and I guess the key point here, Rich, is that we're talking about not the sentiment and not the broader movement, if you will, but the organization, Black Lives Matter, who runs it, what their stated ambitions are, and again, the kind of help that they seem to be getting from not just corporate America, which is staggering, but from foundations like the Ford Foundation and from, it would appear, the Chinese Communist Party, if not directly, then through various United Front organizations that they have operating in this country, like the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. So, Rich, very quickly, just a little bit more on what one will get out of this handbook, Insurrection and Violence, Citizen's Guide.
Well, first off, it's very short. So for your viewers, it's 40, 50 pages. It's written in kind of a classical military type basic training manual. So you get the basic layout of what the threats are and how the threats interoperate. You'll get how to defend yourself, your family, your home, whether you live in an urban or a rural environment. For example, how do you react inside of a riot where you're in your car with your family, things like that. And then the third thing that it really covers is how do you get proactive? How do you counter-mobilize against these revolutionary forces, and an ability to assess within your local neighborhood, your state and local government, what's going on. So it's basic, but these are important fundamental questions that will kind of frame your thinking going forward, hopefully.
It's a real how-to manual, and I thank you very much to you and Steve Coughlin and others who helped put this together. I really appreciate the chance as well to have it available on a website we hope to launch today called securingamerica.tv, and you'll be able to get access to this important handbook for free right there as a downloadable PDF. Next up, thank you, Rich Higgins, so much, but keep up the good work, my friend. Come back to us often if you would. Next up, we'll be joined by Kevin Freeman, the host of Economic War Room with Kevin Freeman. That and more, straight ahead.